كل تعداء من هذا الشيء هيك. أيوة. نروح لهي ولا نروح منا ندير شو اوبن وورد هذا اللعبة هذا. تليفون طيش.
Visual and auditory distortions are becoming more frequent, along with mild convulsions to the left side, all of which support a preliminary diagnosis of intracranial hypertension, occurring as a result of a substantial and rapidly expanding tumor, originating, I believe, within the hypothalamus. Cognitive functions are currently unimpaired, aside from this crippling headache. Hemorrhaging is becoming more frequent, with darker clots passing through the nasal passages primarily. I believe I am dying. This is certainly not flu or anything else I have ever encountered. And certainly, a tumor cannot expand this rapidly. In the blood clots, I see tiny flecks of what looks almost like, if I had to try and find a description, liquid light. I cannot explain this phenomenon.
Peut-être que this light is trying to... Maybe this light is trying to possess bodies, human bodies, but these human body is a lot weaker to, I don't know, to accept the host, something like that. Maybe that's why they start bleeding and die. So the body is not accepting whatsoever. It's trying to get in. Okay.
You have to make a decision, Lizzie. Especially now.
But I do love him, Father. I love them both.
He's married. There are other people involved in this.
Oh, I hardly think that anyone's in the position to claim the moral high ground, do you?
Well, I take your point about Stephen. And Robert. But I think Kate might see things differently.
Do you? I mean, she's not screwing anyone else, pardon my French, but she spends all day and night locked up in that observatory. Stephen says they barely see each other. That's hardly a marriage, is it?
الدنيا احتخله وهي حبة العرس. أخي هذا. كانش ماب ما كانش قد يقلوا الباب. وين الصحاب هذا اللي قالت؟ لا برك اللي يا جيرمي اني جايك. جاي. يوسف
I saw you from the main road. Not many people are moving around now.
I was looking for Dr. Wade.
Listen, Frank. I don't know what's happened, but your Stephen seems to think he's responsible.
I reckon he is.
He said, Kate's still up at the observatory, but the gates are locked. Frank, there's going to be a rescue soon, I'm sure of it. They'll send planes or something.
Well, they'll send planes, all right. This pattern of his, we're in the center of it. Which means if they intend to stop it, we're right in the firing line.
So this night is Jeremy. He's trying to see what happened. It's like it's his soul is lost. Peut-être الجوال اللي قاعد نلعب به واكسبت اللايت هذاك ما خرج في الدم هذا لا سرفايفر. وهني قاعد نلعب كيد انا سوف كو جامد. يخرج لي انا بليتو شكون اللي كان داخل one 1 2 1 4 3 كيف نروح الجراج؟
It wasn't just some distortion of physics. I may not understand it yet, but it wasn't an accident. All of the clocks, what happened at Tower 6, it's just not random. There's an effort. An attempt to communicate.
إذا حبت كوميونيكي وهي قاعدة تكتب في اللعبات كلهم أنا اسمه والله كوميونيكيشن. Jer, you here, buddy?
listen to you.
Well, I really don't see what it has to do with me at all.
The village looks up to you. I just think with what's been happening with Mr. Coles and Mrs. Boughton and the others, that people need somewhere to talk, to feel safe.
Perhaps they don't think that your church is somewhere they feel particularly safe.
I don't need your forgiveness, Wendy, or theirs. Whosoever thou art that judgest, for wherein thou judgest another, thou condemnest thyself. Romans chapter 2, verse 1.
Beware of practicing your righteousness before other people in order to be seen by them. Matthew chapter 6, verse 1. It's not my judgment you should be worried about, Father. But fine. I'll talk to Barbara. Ask her to put a note up in the surgery about an extra service. Will that do?
تكون محتاجة إلى
Doesn't even reach the back fence, silly old bugger.
Well, loaves and fishes we can manage, but
Father
garden design
Jeremy,
is a little beyond.
might I have a word?
Mrs. Boyles, of course. Meg, will you excuse us, please?
See you back at Charlie's later. Cheerio, Wendy.
I was speaking to Barbara. She said there were some irregularities about Mary's morphine.
Good grief. Those are private medical records. Barbara should know better than to be discussing that sort of thing with you. If Dr. Wade finds out, he'll have no choice but to suspend her. Damn it, Wendy! Your brother is grieving. Mary was sick for a long time, and I'm glad it's over for her. Go and support Frank. He needs you now.
God knows what you did. He sees. I just break and overlook Mary's weakness, but you, a man of the cloth,
If you have an issue with...
bring shame on this parish.
If you have an issue with me, I suggest you write to the diocese. I have parishioners to attend to. Excuse me.
بدأت شوية الحكاية تولي شوية clear. لكن l'endroit واش هاد
Electrical failures all over Tower 6. The light is flowing like liquid. Its sense of purpose is overwhelming. There's something in... Stephen? Stephen, is that you? يا رجع بس كني شك بلي نسيت حاجة باسكو عديت من هنايا وبالي مش غلط. Ja, het is rust.
What about the station?
That's shut down too. So there's no way in or out of the valley. They're obviously serious about this flu thing.
Phil doesn't think it's flu at all. He said he's been practicing medicine for 30 years and he's seen plenty of flu, and he said this doesn't feel right at all.
Well, there's nothing of any use on the radio.
Sorry I'm late, everyone. Have you started?
Yes, but to be honest, there's not really that much to discuss. This quarantine is in place, there's roadblocks and everything. No one really seems to know anything, but people are definitely missing. More of them too, not just a couple of old biddies. No one's seen the Sullivans since yesterday, and the house is just sitting there unlocked.
I just got back from the farm. All of Frank's cows died in the night. He's devastated.
Poor man. Hasn't he had enough for 1 year? First Mary and now this.
Well, if no one's coming in to sort this mess out, we're just going to have to do it ourselves. Barbara, get Phil to do a stock take on medication. Jeremy, put the word out for people to congregate at the village hall. It's best we get everyone in one place for the time being.
Good.
I'll organise supplies. We'll have a lot of hungry mouths to feed. There's plenty at the depot, but well, let's start with what's here in the village. I'll draw up a rota. Charlie, you help me with that?
Anything for you, Meg?
I'll head out into the valley and scoop up the isolated families and check in with Lizzie Graves at the camp. Has anyone seen or heard anything from Stephen Appleton or his wife?
Lui che vedevo quei cadini tuffe. Che blaso. Sta bene. النزال الأول هنا لازم يكليك عليه من بعد روات. Diocese of Stripper Stones. Sunday services at 8 AM, 10 AM, 5:30 PM. While working. Oops, that happened.